Hello, everyone. It is Friday, the 25th of August, 2023. Friday. And I am going to wing it this morning, just like I like to do. And I'm going to go through some points or some stories and events that have happened in the last, like, let's say 24 hours. And so I'm just going through my phone here because I didn't take notes. I want you to hear this. They were talking about climate change yesterday, and now we're learning that scientists and researchers are looking at how to change the weather on purpose. That's right, lasers now can one day manipulate heat and lightning. CBS This Morning contributor Michio Kaku is a physics professor at City College. Michio Kaku! Professor, nice to see you. Extraordinary seeing Al Gore and Bill Clinton there together with Charlie, wasn't it? That's right. Yeah, we did not get into this discussion, but it is fascinating. Lasers really to change the weather? That's right. Well, as Mark Twain once famously said, everyone complains about the weather, no one ever does anything about it. Well, instead of doing a maintenance, we physicists are firing trillion-watt lasers into the sky to actually precipitate rain clouds and actually bring down lightning bolts. This is potentially a game changer. 9 years ago. Experiment. Experimental, however, in the laboratory so far it works. Then you have water vapor have dust particles or ice crystals, you can precipitate rain. It condenses around the seeds. These seeds can also be created by laser beams. By firing trillion-watt lasers, they rip apart the electrons, they what are called ions. And these ions act like seeds, like dust particles, beating down rain and even lightning. Well, this is fascinating to me. I remember reading the stories that China had used this during the Olympics, that the USSR had used this after Chernobyl to create rain clouds. I mean, it's so hard to show this. We have some of these capabilities now. Inconclusive. These governments have been alleged to have experimented with weather control, but nothing conclusive. This time we're digging into laws of physics rather than simply waving our hands in ivory mumbo jumbo. We're actually using trillion-watt lasers. Agricultural, commercial, military, weather modification. Okay, so I'm putting that out there just because I've talked about weather modification and the fact that there's been treaties between the U.S. and Canada for weather modification, geoengineering, all that stuff, and this has been for longer than you would believe. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and so that was just like another point on that even on CBS that aired 9 years ago, and that guy Mikado or whatever his name is, he's been in the mainstream media even now, right? And he is someone that is I don't know, like like a puppet for hire. Like he's another actor. Like I don't even think he believes half the things he's saying to us. He's just speaking out of a speakerphone, like reading cue cards, whatever you want to call it. Maxime Bernier, I also shared yesterday that Canadian universities and colleges that attract 800,000 foreign students every year are not selling education. They're mostly selling the right to work and an easy path to permanent residency in Canada. So it's a racket to boost mass immigration. And the reason why this is important is that it's infringing on the rights and freedoms of Canadians. We're seeing this more and more, and even with what's going on with like what we're calling the housing crisis and stuff like that. When you're bringing in an influx of people, it doesn't, especially in a short period of time, like we're doing. It's not helping, right? And people are there's so many issues in Canada right now with our economy because of people like Chrystia Freeland. Like we don't need more economic collapse or whatever you want to call it. Like it's a slow morning. Just going through my stories. Oh, this was funny. That's why I wanted to show this. Oh.
He's not lying. Listen to this. Now listen to me carefully on this. The truth is, anyone. I look for grace wherever I can find it. So I say this gently. The Biden administration sucks. You can answer it any way you want. COVID, the economy, inflation, the national debt, Florida, crime, cancel culture, treating parents like domestic terrorists. Afghanistan, our energy independence. Now, my President Biden has been spectacularly awful. If you put President Biden in charge of the Sahara Desert, he would run out of sand. That's Senator Kennedy, I believe. Kennedy, Kennedy, if you want to follow him. He's pretty funny. He's also pushing an agenda. I also wanted you to listen to this. I'm all over the place today. I'm sorry, but just some things I want to share because they're important. Rocks, canyons, cliffs. There are very old quarries over there, and many fresh ones. This is a white rock in Pelagos, in Crimea. It is a limestone quarry. The wall was formed as a result of the cuts found on the hill. Want to see more? Look at this passage from which a huge mass of limestone was taken. They lied to you. And guess what they call it? They call it the Valley, a beautiful wonder of Earth. Check this out. This is an old photo from the 19th century. The mound of the vertical walls of limestone chips are not yet overgrown with vegetation. This is an old painting from the year 1855. We can see ancient giant quarry wastes in the background. Are you impressed by the scale of mining in just little Crimea? I don't know about this being like a gigantic waste pit, but I will definitely say that like a force like we used to have in the world, like even 100 years ago, is not the force we have today. These are shrubs and bushes and remnants of old beautiful trees that were either petrified or cut down, and it's a shame. It is a damn shame. Oh my goodness, I wanted to get into gematria stuff too, and just talk about yesterday was the North Atlantic Treaty. It was put into effect. I believe it was on the 4th of April, 1949, is when like they signed like it into effect in Washington D.C. And then into effect on the 24th of August. This year, it makes 73 years that it has been in place. And then Donald Trump, like he was arrested on that day, and it was 2/4/8 if you want to look at it as the 24th of August. So just put in the month after the date, so 24/8. And then it was just interesting that there was also a shooting on Pluto Drive yesterday as well. And Pluto takes 248 years to circle, to do a full circle within this within this dome. And then even on the planet Pluto, there's actually been CGI images where like we've clearly pointed out where like even like the face of Pluto, the friggin' dog from Disney or whatever, is actually in that those photos. And then Donald Trump is now back on Twitter, and it's been and his first Twitter post is his mugshot, which is kind of funny. And because he's making a lot of like he's getting a lot of publicity because of it, and he's getting a lot more support. So this is to be panicked when she saw her father without a map. What it revealed about everyone. Would have worn a mask for the rest of their life and don't make me deep about it.
Bill Maher.
Of them would have been happy about it because it gave them
Jordan Peterson.
How human can get themselves into those kind of societies? And I suppose we could. You do it by lying. I mean, people think that tyranny is a top-down imposition of force on people who would otherwise want to be free, and that's just not true. That isn't how it works at all. A totalitarian state occurs when everyone lies about absolutely everything all the time, and the totalitarian state is the grip of the lie. Now, the politicians and the people who have power in those situations, they lie too, but so does everyone else.
I wanted to
They got these 4-year-olds
make you listen to this again.
Cute. In East Germany, like 1/3 of people were government workers. Absolutely.
So in Canada, just to be clear, we should collectively be ashamed at our response during the pandemic and the lockdowns and stuff like that, and just the narrative that was pushed and still is being pushed even now. And because we are a joke on an international scale, right? And unfortunately, not in a good way, because we're the losers, and it's the ultimate loss when if we keep on going down this path, right? Because they're talking about lockdowns again, possibly coming in September. We don't know if it's going to be one of those things where it's like a climate friggin' disaster induced, and or what they're talking about, like another virus or illness, in the public, and they're trying to say that it's going to like come from Canada, all this crazy stuff. And I hope that people do not get duped by this again, because a lot of people are doubling down, especially people with big friggin' egos and like closed friggin' minded. I would say that closed minded. They're not, they're just doubling down on this stuff. And so there was a comment that was put in like after that video I just shared with Bill Maher and Dr. Jordan Peterson, by a John Paolozzi, JOHNPAOLOZZI, saying that Canada's mortality rate was 1/3 that of the United States. That translates to about 80,000 lives. Masks played a role in that. Peterson doesn't get it because he's a profoundly disturbed person. So I've come back. Where are you getting your stats? From a Canadian censored browser on CTV? And I'm saying that because I've shared how we have manipulated the statistics, and that even like Dr. John Campbell and stuff like that, who is a well-reputed expert literally in the field of vaccines, virology, you name it, for decades, and been on panels and committees and actually on the ground doing the work and stuff like that. And also discussing this and saying that that Canada, our stats were not reliable and delayed and inaccurate and so much more, right? So like, and there's a lot of people, actual experts internationally that have said that the same thing, that Canada has not stepped up on like international for anything. Like, even I'll get into this stuff, but like economically, like defense wise, our policies, our budgetary plans, like the woke ideologies that are being pushed. This is all like a joke on an international scale. It's unfortunate. Anyways, I'm going to continue. Check your mask box. It does not prevent the spread of the virus. The masks caused microplastics deep inside organs, massive pollution, made children's organs develop improperly because of lack of oxygen and carbon dioxide exchange, social anxieties, and more. You are a profoundly disturbed person to keep this narrative going. Your own health is your responsibility, so don't blame others for your poor lifestyle choices, that like lack of a proper diet, not filtering water or exercising. When we know that is what prevents people from getting sick or spreading any illness. Stop drinking and smoking, etc. Lazy people blame others for their shortfalls. And so I'm just kind of sick of the narrative where there's people that are trying to blame unvaccinated people or people that are not wearing masks or any of this stuff, social distancing. They're blaming others for their own health deficiencies and or their own anxieties, whether it be health wise or social, whatever. And I'll reiterate, the people that had the poorer outcomes with any disease or illness or injury are people that were overweight or obese and comorbid conditions, right? And lung issues and or heart issues like diabetes and stuff like that, which is all like diet related or lifestyle related, like smoking and drinking and prescription medications and all these other friggin' things. And so like your lifestyle choices, when people were when people were gaining weight during COVID, you know what I mean, and the lockdowns of the gym and stuff like that, even though McDonald's was open, that should have showed you just how bad this was for us. And there was acute conditions turned to chronic. There was delays in surgeries and people getting help. Was such a significant increase in suicides. And there's so much more like that I could talk about too, like with the children. The reason when I'm talking about like the masks preventing them from like having their organs develop properly is because when they were masked up again, like you're not getting a proper like breathing exchange, like deep breathing through the diaphragm and through the stomach, you know what I mean, and the chest cavity and stuff like that, and they're not getting that. And then so this is why they're like they're getting like more like immune issues as well, and like I can go on, but like come on, buddy. And that's a man again. And then I looked at his profile again, like not to judge, but they're judging, you know what I mean? But like he looks clearly unhealthy. Clearly unhealthy. And that's the guy that's commenting, right? And it's like blaming others for your own deficiencies and like cool, like more of this stuff, right? Like oh my goodness. So I'm just going over like the stories that I posted. Oh yeah, now we have Minister Jolie, Melanie Jolie. She's in cabinet, and again, like another person that is really not qualified for the position that she's in, and clueless as to the international issues that are going on and that impact Canada. And she's talking about. Anyways, I'll get into it.
My name is Key, and I'm just with the counter signal. Comments that were picked up in the mainstream media a couple of days ago. No, sorry, you're here on the taxpayers' side.
She's eating ice cream.
That you had said that you were worried about a far-right authoritarian shift in the United States, and I'm wondering what kind of things you're concerned about. Are you worried they're going to freeze bank accounts?
Elected officials.
What kind of things cause you to be concerned about far-right authoritarianism, and not far-left authoritarianism, as your government has been accused of? Could you tell me? Please don't touch me. Thank you. I'm speaking to someone who's paid by the taxpayers to be here while you're enjoying ice cream. I'm sure you can understand why I.
We're paying for that ice cream.
Could you tell me why you paid the Chinese government $1.6 million to get a board seat to advise them on climate change? Just as long as you don't touch me, that's fine. Then don't walk in front of me then. You paid them $1.6 million to give your friend Stephen Guilbeault a board seat so that he can tell them to not go net zero until 2060, but you're going to force Alberta to do that so that people freeze to death in the dark. Are you working pretty hard right now while you're tweeting your ice cream when people are burning to death?
Broad daylight. Not on vacation.
Last night, smoking a Cuban cigar in the back alley. You're here just enjoying some frozen ice cream. Do you get how Canadians might call this out of touch?
And my comment to that was far-right extremism. They have a Democrat in office and we have a liberal moron. You don't think that they're the bigger issue? So like we're saying the same thing. Like we have people that are blatantly destroying our societies and in first world countries and beyond. And these are democratic liberal leaning governments. And it just blows my mind. So that was just like more of the like the minor news I wanted to just get out of the way. Oh no, actually, wrong.
Eviction letter that's going viral in Lahaina, Maui. So I'll make this quick. Every or over this eviction letter.
Actually, maybe. Let me see. Did I don't know if I did or not. No. Okay, so there's a guy named David Numbers who
that's going viral in Lahaina, Maui. So I'll make this quick. Let us know if this is fake news. And a lot of you were like, just take it down because it is fake. Okay. dismiss you. They're going to displace and render homeless Hawaiians to rebuild their community. That's out in the wild. I haven't seen any news coverage of this, so if you please have in my comments, let me know. Because I think we all need some verification on that. We absolutely are not involved in this. That's BS. We are fully investigating this landlord who apparently is a known slumlord in Maui. The other updates, which again, social are over this eviction.
So anyway, the gist of it is that this guy named David Numbers, he's a landlord in the Lahaina area that was impacted obviously by the wildfires, and he was trying to exploit it, right? So like I've said this before too, and I made the comment on that video, is that like it's not just the government, you know what I mean, or corporations that are impacting our lives and exploiting like situations. It's not the systems, it's individuals within it, unfortunately, right? So individuals make up the collective, and then we have slimy people that will do things and even lie and say, oh, this is backed by the government, like the mayor, you know what I mean, and lie in order to evict people during like a time when they've likely lost friends and family, or that they were impacted, and they're going to homes where there's rubble, you know what I mean, and just like ruins like all around them, right? It's just unfortunate. And salt of earth, I'm in Ontario, and I've seen some very strange cloud formations popping up out of the blue. Yeah, absolutely. That is weather modification. and like I've been tracking this too. Like you'll look up in the sky. Sometimes you'll see where it's clear blue skies, and then you'll see some planes going up overhead. And then they're they're releasing particles or whatever you want to call it. That's attracting water molecules or whatever you want to call it, like to create clouds and rain during certain periods, and then snow and hail and stuff like that during other periods. It's just depending on the temperature and the wind direction and speed and stuff like that. There's so much to it, but yeah, it's wild. And they're using laser technology and stuff like that now as well to do this as well. So it's not just observation posts that they're using with lasers, but it's in the sky as well with aircrafts. I've showed that as well too, where there's these balls underneath these balls underneath the plane. Oh my goodness. And they're blue, hilariously. And it's like a dome thing, whatever you want to call it, that can like a surveillance camera that does like the 360 degree, like it can like roll in its socket or whatever, like a ball joint or whatever. It's a similar thing where these lasers can like move and be directed in multiple different directions and distances away, which is terrifying. Because what happens throughout history for people that talk about this stuff? They use them on them. No, I'm just kidding. Well, I'm not kidding, but I digress. I still wanted to get into some more news. So there's a Blackstone group that was a subsidiary, or it was connected to BlackRock at one time, and then it separated from them, and a new group was called Blackstone Group. And why this is important is they're also like a multi-billion-dollar corporation, and they own Ancestry.com, and it's been several years that they have. So like the data that goes with that, it's pretty, it's about our DNA essentially. So like, do you want certain groups to have access to that information, and what are the ramifications and stuff like that, and are there legal issues with this as well, since there was no informed consent for people that provided their data to Ancestry.com for any kind of clauses that would grant permission to companies that purchase them from accessing that same data and stuff like that. So there's a lot of different concerns about this, especially since there's friggin' biolabs all over the friggin' world, and no one wants to talk about them. And the fact that we're funding Ukraine in a proxy war and not helping Canadians right now during these arson events that they're trying to blame on climate change. It's ridiculous. And I think for the negative newsy news, I'm going to leave it at that for now, and then go into some more interesting things and see if I can share my screen. Oh yeah, no, I also wanted to share. Let's see here. the Bloodstone group. Why that's also important, because they're part of Ancestry.com, is because of this. They're part of the World Economic Forum, an investment and advisory firm seeking to create positive economic impact and long-term value for its investors. So, so then it's like it's directly connected to WEF and their investors. I will also say though that maybe I'll just leave it at that. I will stop sharing screen. Okay. There we go. So Blackstone, WEF, Ancestry.com. Let's see what else here. Oh yeah, I guess I can share screen too about other stuff I was talking about. Let's see here. Okay, so how many years it take Pluto to orbit around the sun? Anyways, I searched that, even though I know that that's not what it does. Pluto takes 248 years. Okay, so we have that, and so I'll remove that. Stop that screen and then share just the Pluto drive shooting as well. Person fatally shot on West Side neighborhood, one detained by police. So it was just like, again, on 2/4/8, and then Trump's inauguration. And there's just, I know this is all, people think this is a stretch, but it's not. This is all connected, and these are not coincidences. I do think that there are people that do look at significant events throughout history and or sacred numbers or dates in order to plan other events of significance, even birthdays, right? Like there's people that like try to like get their kids to be born on certain days, like the 25th of December, you know, or in January, because then they're like the bigger and stronger kids, like in school, and you know, then the other kids, like because it's based on like the year and not anyway. Let's see here. Okay, so Blackstone, I'll stop. Let's keep sharing that. The Pluto stuff, I'll just stop with that. I'll get into. I've been having more debates on the history of people within North America. I've talked about this before and shared it, but
PragerU.
So when we reacted to PragerU last time, that was like
that was the Democrat one.
Yeah, the history of the
Democrat.
Democrat.
It was two of them.
I don't remember the other one. I think it might have been the opposite, maybe. I don't know what it was. Honestly, I don't.
I think we did both.
It was two.
They
videos.
They had that little black lady on there.
Yeah, it's two of them.
But people are trying to say this is a conservative channel, and can we look that up?
They say everything we do conservative. Can we just watch stuff on the internet and just form our own opinion without y'all trying to slap labels on us?
But I mean, hey,
Like, I feel like people don't understand that.
you won't believe who's narrating this.
Oh, really?
Who? Candace?
How did you know? You seen her?
Nigga
He
said
said, he said Kansas State University. Candace Owens. Nigga said it again.
I know, I was just saying like they just said Candace.
Okay, yeah. PragerU releases videos on various topics from a conservative viewpoint.
Okay.
So all right. Well, who founded it? Dennis Prager. Okay.
Who's Dennis Pratt?
But that's from Wikipedia as well. So
Yeah. Okay.
what
Well,
are you?
Candace is going to tell us a short history on slavery.
Well,
I've been seeing this
so
video.
far, it's been the people that have been speaking to us on this have been strong conservatives. So they probably
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Right.
The other black lady was a doctor at university.
yeah, teaching about conservative ways.
Just conservative.
Oh, on YouTube, you can't teach conservative ways in a university.
She
You know?
was preaching at her university.
How you know?
She got in
She's a
trouble.
professor at Vanderbilt.
Yeah,
Oh,
she got in
yeah, I
trouble.
did say she got in trouble.
I think he's the one that said
Yeah.
that.
Oh, how did you know that?
She's from Tennessee.
She's from
Vanderbilt,
Nashville.
Tennessee.
Okay.
Put yourself in slow.
And now for a brief history of slavery. Here's the first thing you need to know. Slavery was not invented by white people. It did not start in 1619 when the first slaves came to Jamestown. It existed before then. It did not start in 1492 when Columbus discovered the New World. In fact, when the intrepid explorer landed in the Bahamas, the native Taino tribe hoped that he would help them defeat their aggressive neighbors, the Caribs. The Caribs enslaved the Taino and, on occasion, served them for dinner.
Whoa.
Slavery existed in Africa, Asia, and the Middle East.
Yeah, we knew that.
The word slave actually comes from the Slavs of Eastern Europe. Millions of them, all white by the way, were captured and enslaved by Muslims in the 9th century and later by the Ottoman Turks. Slavery existed when the Roman Empire controlled the Mediterranean and most of Europe from the 1st through the 5th centuries. Slavery existed when Alexander the Great conquered Persia in the 4th century BC. It was so common that Aristotle simply considered it natural. The slave master model was just how the world operated in the great philosopher's day. Slavery existed during the time of the ancient Egyptians 5,000 years ago. As far back as we can go in human history, we find slavery. As renowned historian John Steele Gordon notes from time immemorial, slaves were a major item of commerce. As much as a third of the population of the ancient world was enslaved. Here's the second thing you need to know.
That makes sense.
White people were the first to formally put an end to slavery.
You do know that?
In 1833, Britain was the first country in the
I'm learning, man. I forgot who exactly did it. Was it? I think it was actually them. Yeah, the British did it.
end to slavery. In 1833, Britain was the first country in the history of the world to pass a Slavery Abolition Act. They were quickly followed by France, who in 1848 abolished slavery in her many colonies. Then, of course, came the 13th Amendment in the United States Constitution. After centuries of human slavery, white men led the world in putting an end to the abhorrent practice. That includes the 300,000 Union soldiers, overwhelmingly white, who died during the Civil War. Now, am I saying that this makes white people better than anyone else? Of course not. My purpose here is to simply tell the truth, and the truth is that human history is complicated. No one, regardless of skin color, stands guiltless. Yet today we are never told to consider the murderous Persian Empire or the cannibalism of indigenous tribes of North and South America or the heinous actions under the imperialistic Muslim, Chinese, Mongol, or Japanese empires, to name just a few. Instead, we're told that slavery is a white phenomenon. And like all persistent lies, this lie spawns a bunch of other lies. On social media, I come across extraordinary depictions about how Africans lived like pharaohs before Europeans came and laid waste to their paradise. I wish any of this were true, but it's not. It's a fantasy.
It's not.
The truth is that Africans were sold.
I will say like that there's like a not like don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. I say that a lot. Like even with like within North America, like I have proof too, and I'll show this on other videos because I don't want this to be like 1,000,000 hours long, but where black skinned people were advanced and living within the North Americas, like even like before like what we're calling the indigenous peoples, which possibly could be people that came from Mongolia / China areas, like more recently than we're being led to believe, and actually took over these areas by white and black skinned people and other, red skin or whatever you want to call it, skin peoples, which is also incorrect as well. Like with the red skinned people, it's actually white skinned people and light skinned people that used clay and other red materials to like cover up their skin because of the extreme sun exposure and stuff like that was causing them to burn and turn also red from sunburns and stuff like that as well. So that's where that comes from. I'm going all over the place, but black skinned people were here like even hundreds of years ago in more advanced civilizations. Just like Mathieu de Costa, look him up. He was from Europe. He was like an explorer and a seafarer hundreds of years ago. I believe it was like the late 1500s, and may have been on the same vessels as Samuel de Champlain, which was like 1608 we hear about, but obviously was an explorer for many years. And Mathieu de Costa, like the reason why he had successful trading relations with people within Canada, what we were calling the indigenous peoples, is because his skin resembled theirs and he looked similar to them. There's so many different like archived accounts of this, and if you look at him online, Mathieu de Costa, he is actually clearly black skinned, and so I'll just stop this screen for now and see if I can share Mathieu de Costa. So there you go. 1589, Quebec City. Yeah, so I'm thankful I had my dates right. And look, and so all interesting stuff. So I'll stop that screen and go back onto, I don't know why I'm telling you why I'm doing this stuff. I'm going to go back on the video because it's still very interesting stuff. And but again, Candace Owens does get like some things inaccurate, but it's okay. But there are, again, people that have been like other skinned people that have taken over black skinned civilizations that were advanced before, where there were actually pharaohs and rulers, you know what I mean, and of empires, and they destroyed them. Like there was even I'll share this.
Sold into slavery by other Black Africans, and in many cases, sold for items as trivial as gin and mirrors.
Wow.
Whites didn't go into the interior and round up the natives. They waited on the coast for their Black partners to bring them Black
So
bodies.
sold them niggas for some alcohol.
The stark reality is that our lives had very little.
I just can't believe it.
I hate it. He sold them niggas for some alcohol.
These guys are so funny. I highly recommend like following them. I've been following them for a little while. They're called the Cartier family. And anyway.
Oh, in beers. You tell me you give me put some in a Hennessy bottle. Give me 20 crates of Crown for this nigga.
Oh my God. It's just no.
I'll round him up when he sleeps, he won't even know it. This nigga ain't gonna serve you.
It's $1 million slave right here.
Wow.
This nigga got a mirror, like an actual,
That's
like
actually
something
messed
to
up,
look
bro.
at. That's crazy.
History's messed up. Everybody's messed up.
Yeah, everybody's fucked up, bro. It's too far gone. We just gotta work to better
I don't know if it
everything.
was John Adams. It was a couple. I learned in class. It was a lot of Christian men that was in the 13 colonies that they were trying to do slavery, and a lot of them was like, "I'm not really with that." So we could kind of thank them, because low key, if it wasn't for them, the Christian men that was against it, we would probably still be going through that.
But we can't even say that because there's Christian men that were with it and were Christian.
Well, that's true.
Quote
That's true.
unquote men that were with it and were
That
twisting
is
the Bible to justify
Well,
it.
that is
But then
true.
you also have
But how
others who weren't like that too, like you were saying.
How did the British, okay, if they're the ones to make a first like act and tell the world like we're not really with this, how did that message go out? British came over here, like,
And they was like they had probably family members and
Yeah,
stuff.
it was
They
like-
was always connected. That's where they
kinda-
came from to America, right?
Sending letters back and
So they're
forth.
like, oh, y'all ain't doing that no more? That's messed up? Okay, yeah, we ain't doing that no more either.
We gonna fight for it. And they had revolutions for all that stuff too. So it was some bloodshed before them acts were signed.
so the people that say I'm finna go back to Africa are idiots. They don't know history, basically. This
The world is a
is
messed up place, man.
This is crazy.
It's too far gone, bro.
so they're telling me that the white man saved my people, basically.
Yeah, because we got sold for the alcohol bottle, a Hennessy bottle.
They told me, my people told me, right?
It's just hard to hear, you know?
Yeah.
White man
It's hard to hear, like, what do I say to that?
said, hey, this low key as a ring, man.
He said, "Here go you for a
Let's
thousand
fight
people."
for this. And then we
Because they would have
got
kept looking up like this.
But it's still some people that was racist though. We can't say it was.
No.
We can't
there was a
say that.
battle between this shit.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
we need this, and there was people saying, low key, this is bad.
It's just you got to get to know a person to really know who they
Yeah,
really
yeah,
are.
Yeah, man.
So you can't just judge.
No, you're right.
Nobody.
You're right.
Yeah,
You're right.
You gotta meet each
But
individual.
now
person.
our people that's older ain't gonna get us the same and fall for that shit.
I'm not that's trying to get that same.
They were trying to get that hand in my.
It's hard to hear. This is very hard to hear.
bro. It's just like, dang,
Bro,
bro.
man. Okay, all right.
Damn, this made me feel like I'm dumb.
It's not.
Let me enlighten
fancy.
myself.
The truth is that Africans were sold into slavery by other Black Africans, and in many cases, sold for items as trivial as gin and mirrors. Whites didn't go into the interior and round up the natives. They waited on the coast for their Black partners to bring them Black bodies. The stark reality is that our lives had very little value to our ancestors. Here's the third thing you need to know. If you think slavery
It's so
is
funny
a
to
relic
watch.
of the past, you're wrong.
This guy.
There are some 700,000 slaves in Africa today.
What?
Now, that's the lowest estimate that I could find. Other sources say there are many more.
Makes sense.
What?
For context,
Man,
that's almost
Hey, wait, Candace. Candace, stop doing this.
Hold on,
Possibly
bro.
be more.
Let me
Hold on, bro.
Nah.
They got slaves in Africa right now.
I'm thinking over 1 million.
No,
I can't see that.
No, I can't see
that.
that. Show. It must be in the
Candace,
like,
are you spreading
the
false
treacherous
information,
country.
Candace?
That
Chill out.
doesn't
Huh?
Are you looking it up?
It's probably possible. It's probably possible. Because you know they sovereign states in Africa too.
Yeah,
They're not
we
ruled
just
on
did.
But I
us.
know, like, specifically in a few countries, like, it's not at all. There's for sure not slavery.
Because like ain't
But you know, look, Africa is a huge
Continent.
continent. The maps make it look small.
Yeah, it does.
So maybe there are some areas.
niggas ain't big to.
West Africa's pretty crazy, I've heard.
No, that's where Ghana is.
Modern
West
slavery.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
The countries with the highest prevalence of modern slavery in Africa, it's a few.
Eritrea, Eritrea,
and South Sudan.
Sudan. Sudanese.
Eritrea,
Right, bro. This is no way. This is right.
Martiana, and South Sudan. 2023 population.
That says China still has slaves.
Yeah. China's. I thought they had Muslim slaves. I heard.
Well, I mean, she could be
Uyghurs.
talking about prisons, though, maybe.
Well, we have been the highest. in
We gotta
slavery.
be, man, I don't know what to believe, man, about that one, man.
That's crazy.
Can we get some more facts on that? Because I'm African. And my people African right now, they showing slaves.
That's a different.
That's
Ghana,
different.
Ghana got some.
Yeah, they
beliefs. got some
developed.
beliefs.
But like, hold on, man. Let me see. Is there, I have to Google this.
And the sad reality is there are some people that are black skinned within North America that believe that they came from Africa when in fact their families have been here for generations.
I watched a video on Vice on West Africa. It was like shooting guns and war.
It's so frustrating.
Sierra Leone.
Yeah, it was like really poor part of West Africa. It was crazy. It's like a documentary.
It says there are, bro.
Where?
It's on some like indentured servants type. Like they have to work for like basically pennies, so they're basically slaves, I think.
And indentured servants work until someone's paid back.
Isn't that how it works?
I don't know.
This
But I think
is
she's
twisting my
actually,
brain
yeah.
up, man.
Let's watch the rest of the video.
This is definitely twisting my brain up.
Yeah, it says Africa is. Yeah.
That's what the internet is saying, man.
Yeah, the internet is saying that.
Cite your sources.
She said that's the lowest I can find.
Goodness, great.
Man, come on, man.
It's a relic of the
Well, that
past.
makes sense.
You're wrong. There are some 700,000 slaves in Africa today, right now. That's the lowest estimate that I could find. Other sources say there are many more. For context, that's almost twice as many slaves as were ever brought to the United States.
And there's not just slaves in Africa, to be clear, either.
Child soldiers, human trafficking, forced labor. These are the conditions that currently exist within the same sub-Saharan region where the transatlantic slave trade originated. African bodies are being sold today like they were sold then. And no, they are not being purchased by any country of white men. In fact, slavery, by any traditional definition, is exclusively practiced today within non-white countries. But we hear almost nothing about that. Just like we hear nothing about how slavery was.
I also don't prescribe or ascribe to that, what she's saying there as well. I do believe that there are white countries, absolutely, that also are practicing slavery.
Universal until good people in Europe and America ended it 2 centuries ago.
Just not as open.
Why? Because our so-called leaders, black and white, wouldn't profit from it. Black victimhood is nothing if not profitable. It elects politicians and funds racial grievance groups. And if Black Americans began to view themselves as partners in the American dream, if we embraced the patriotic spirit that holds all men are created equal, the patriotic spirit that is our real heritage, then the race hustlers would soon be out of business. And who wants that? I'm Candace Owens, author of Blackout for Prager University.
God damn it, it's good to be American.
I got the chills.
Okay. All right. Now I wanted to get into the other stuff, which is a lot more complicated. Excuse me. And I don't even know where I'm going to start with this. I've talked about astrology and the chakras and the planets and the elements all being connected, and how, like, even with the astrology and the zodiac signs, there's masculine and feminine breakdowns of them as well, and stuff like that, and how even with like 7 original planets and numbers and colors and days of the week, and like even like the Big Dipper, like what it shows like on its path during like the different seasons, like it shows like the number 7. Anyway, I could go on a tangent with this stuff. Like, I wanted to show you guys an example, if I could. let's see, share this one first. Okay, so I've talked about this before. And so like divine bliss states are at the top. You'll see that there's like 33 in here as well. So that's possibly also the connection with the Freemasons and their use of like the 33 degrees, and 33 being the highest possibly of the degrees. 7 chakras here. And then there's also, whoops, I've also discussed the like circles and the degrees and how they're broken into to 5 pairs of 2, and then 2 pairs of 1, and how that equals to 7 as well. And so I won't belabor that point just yet. So you have like the different chakras. I can start at the bottom with Capricorn and Aquarius, and how also this chakra, which is the root chakra, is also connected to Saturn, the planet Saturn, or Kronos, whatever you want to call him. And then also when you go through like the different mantras, like for the chakras, when you're meditating or whatever, like I've said to people, it's not just Om, it's Lam, Vam, Ram, Yam, Ham. And then you go up, right? And there's like vibrational, like healing frequencies as well that we're also being disconnected from, and all this stuff. Anyways, I'm going on all these tangents. And then I'll just go to make sure that I have the if I can add more into this without looking at other notes. And so like the element that is connected to Aquarius and Saturn is lead. Okay, and so so that's the element. So there's also different elements here that also are represented, and I can talk about the periodic table as well and show you that as well. But I'll just keep it as simple as I can. And then so this is the root chakra, like as I mentioned. And then you've got the masculine on the on this left hand side, and the feminine on the right hand side. And then so you have Pisces and Sagittarius, which is the second chakra. And let's see here. And it's the so we went from the root to the sacral chakra, and the element is iron, and then the planet obviously being oh, I'm just going back into my notes here. It says Jupiter, but I just wanted to, yeah. See, and some of these are incorrect, and then so like I'm looking at an alchemical ladder, and it's talking about the chakras and the metals and the planets, and they're trying to say that they have the first one right. They have root, lead, and Saturn associated, and then for the sacral they have iron, but then they have its Mars, when it's actually in fact Jupiter. And then you have the third chakra. Oh, sorry. Then Vam for the mantra, and Jupiter being about expansion and growth and stuff like that. And then you have Aries, which is arise. You have Aries and Scorpio, like for the third chakra. Manipura, which is also like correlated with Mars, and the reason why Mars is correlated absolutely with Aries, and then this being the opposite, or like the on the other end of the zodiac wheel. Anyway, connecting signs, not connecting signs, but like on the opposite of the zodiac wheel. But it's because of Ram, and the Ram is associated with Aries in the zodiac sign too. So again, this is why people need to be really familiar with astrology and the zodiac and the chakras, all of this stuff, because like there's a lot of misinformation online, and even with people that we're getting a lot of good information from, even like Candace Owens, there's still like a level of like misunderstanding or misrepresentation of historical events. And this is why I would love to talk with people like Dr. Jordan Peterson, or people that have a wide audience like Russell Brand or Joe Rogan or Sean Ryan, because these are all like related to like accessing our higher levels of consciousness, and then like the religious piece too. Whereas people are getting to be too far right ecclesiastical and too far left atheist. Like I wanted to just say that these are all like it's hard to explain. Like these are all ideologies that are connected to astronomy, and our birth charts all matter, and like the luminaries matter and stuff like that, and astrology matters. And even in the Bible, astrologers were were respected and seen as people where people would seek counsel from, and not, you know, like evil people. And I can go on like tangents with this stuff too. But anyways, I'm just going through this list. So you've got the third chakra. So I'm just going back and forth, which is the solar plexus, and the element is tin. The fourth, actually, I'm going to go back. I'm going back and forth. Okay, then you got the fourth, yeah, which is Taurus and Libra. This looks like kind of like the upside down pie. I also look at this stuff as well, and connected to Venus, Yam, selfless love, creativity. Let me see what else I can say about that. Sorry, what I want. This is why it's good to like talk to people like Dr. Luongo, because like we could just we could like just play off each other and bounce things off, and then like things I can be like I can go into further detail if I can just get my memory jogged and stuff like that. So on the fourth chakra, heart, Gemini and Virgo, Mercury, or Hermes. And these are all like represent like the days of the week are also represented by these as well. And then you've got the sun and the moon, Virgo and Gemini, and then Cancer and Leo, and they're represented by the sun and the moon. And then you've got Leo, which is ruled by the sun, and in Cancer, which is ruled by the moon. And so I'm getting a call. I'm just gonna ignore it. And this is also like where like on the 20th of June, that is the summer solstice, when the ecliptical path of the sun is at the highest point in the sky during the summer solstice, like I just mentioned, and when we have like the longest amount of days within like the northern hemisphere. Also, interesting note that why is it that on July 8th of every single year in around that time frame, anywhere between like 98 and 99% of the world sees sunlight? How would that be possible? If the sun, sorry, was like 93 to 150 million miles away and not local within our environment? Trick question. It's impossible. Sorry. And so you've got the crown chakra, which the metal is gold, and it's ruled by the sun. And you've got the third eye just below that, which is represented by the metal silver, which is the planet that it is aligned with is the moon. And I don't know if I mentioned that, but like throat chakra just below that, which is the metal is Mercury and the planet is Mercury. And then you've got heart, and the metal is copper, and the planet is they're saying Venus, but this is where I think it's the ram, so Mars. And I think that these are reversed. And then you've got the solar plexus, tin, and then iron, lead. So the metals going from bottom to top, just to make this easier, is lead, iron, tin, copper, mercury, silver, and gold. The chakras from bottom to top is the root, sacral, solar plexus, heart, throat, third eye, and crown. And then the planets are Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, Venus, Mercury, Moon, and then Sun. And so I just want to talk about that. Let's see what else I can talk about here. I can go into the wheel possibly. I just got to remember to share the screen. So I got to go back into streaming. Once I find it. Okay, so stop. Okay, there we go. Let's present something else here. So I'm going to share my birth chart and see if like this is easier for me to discuss. Actually, no, maybe I will stop sharing that. You can take a look at it if you want to. I'll show you like a birth chart, like a better one. So I'm going to stop. It's so hard to go back and forth sometimes with the screens. So let's see here. I'll just Google one first here. Looking for birth chart zodiac wheel so I can discuss it, but I wanted to see if I can have Aries at the start in the first house. Okay, so we'll see about that. Okay. Let's see what is a good one. See if this one will expand. Okay, this is sort of okay. So you've got Aries in the first house, okay, and this is a rise. And so you've got you've got east, west, south, and north. And I don't. This is just how it is, just by virtue of how you're looking at it. And I will also say that astronomy is not possible on a heliocentric model. It is only possible on the geocentric model. You know what I mean? And it's been accurate for thousands of years, ladies and gentlemen. And again, this wouldn't be possible if we were like spinning around super fast, like going around the sun and then going around the galaxy and then going around the universe, ladies and gentlemen, at ridiculous speeds when we can feel like the slightest of winds. Anyways, I'm going on all these tangents. But starting in Aries and why it's a rise and Mars and Ram and stuff like that is this is like the 6 a.m. Kind of like, let's say, of a clock, looking at it this way. And like I've said before, where the sun moves on an ecliptical path, it moves like 15 degrees every single hour. So like at the 15 degree mark, it would be like in the middle here. So you've got Aries in the first house, you've got Taurus in the second house, you've got Gemini in the third house, Cancer in the fourth house, Leo in the fifth, Virgo in the Virgo in the sixth, Libra in the seventh, Scorpio in the eighth, Sagittarius in the ninth, Capricorn in the 10th, Aquarius in the 11th, and Pisces in the 12th, like the final house. And I can talk about the houses and stuff like that as well. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There's 12, just like on a clock. And then if you add up the 15 degrees times that by, like, anyways, it adds up to 360 degrees of a circle. And then 24 hours, like in a day, all interesting things. I hope you're learning something from this. So 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., 9, 10, 11, 12, boom. This is when the sun, this is around 12 p.m. So this is when the sun is at the highest point in the sky, generally speaking, when it's also like the hottest, you know what I mean, and whatever. And then this is between Gemini and Cancer. So like in and around yeah. So anyway, 12 p.m. And then you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 p.m. Okay, so this is like when the sun is starting to set, for example, like depending on where you are and depending on the friggin' seasons, you know what I mean? And then 6 p.m., 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 p.m. Okay, so this is again when it's like darkest, generally speaking, in North America. And again, it like between Sagittarius and Capricorn in here, and when like the sun is like again like at the furthest away, essentially, from the center here, this earth plane, as you're looking up at the freaking sky on your day of birth or whatever. And so yeah, this is all interesting stuff. I don't care about that. And what else can I talk about this? No, I think that's good for now. And I can also, like, I hope I blew your mind on that. And this is why I would love to get on some kind of a podcast or something like that to discuss this stuff further. Because like I don't see anyone else talking in this level of detail and making all the connections with all, like, again, the chakras and the elements and the colors and the planets and the days of the week and stuff like that as well. And oh yeah, and I just wanted to reiterate the sequence of planets within the week is as follows. I don't know if I mentioned that already, but Kronos Saturn is Saturday. The day of Helios or Sol is Sunday. Day of Selene or Luna is Monday. Day of Eris or Mars is Tuesday. Day of Hermes or Mercury is Wednesday. Day of Zeus / Jupiter is Thursday, or Thor's day for Thor as well. And the day of Aphrodite Venus is Friday. And there are even different people that start the day of the week with Sunday and not Monday, and lundi, mardi, mercredi, jeudi, vendredi, samedi, dimanche is also, like, that's French for the days of the week as well, and they're also correlated with the lundi, so lune, and then moon. moon day, Monday, and days of the month. So I can go on a tangent on all that stuff as well, but I digress. I've talked about this in other videos. And so yeah, let's see if there's anything else about. No, I think we're good. So on that note, I hope that everyone has a wonderful day.